And that, Kanye, is how you buy yourself some time.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 controversial SNL monologues.
You can't say this, you can't say that. I'm like, well, how am I gonna talk about the world, you know?
For this list, we're looking at opening monologues from Saturday Night Live that touched on controversial issues, crossed a line, or were considered shocking. Did you find any of these monologues offensive? Let us know in the comments. Number 20, Lindsay Lohan. The themes behind this monologue from 2012 probably wouldn't be SNL's first choice today. It leans heavily into self-referential humor about the host's substance use disorder and mental health.
I forgot how beautiful your eyes are.
Thanks, Keenan.
Can I see them?
Okay.
Yeah, can I see your eyes, please?
You know...
She's good.
Lindsay Lohan had hosted the show thrice before, to much better effect. But in her fourth time hosting in March of 2012, she arguably appears uncomfortable. Her onstage demeanor is starkly different from her other appearances on the show, as she glances at cue cards and struggles to make the material work.
I do get the feeling that everybody thinks I'm gonna screw something up.
Number 19, Milton Berle. The comedy icon was banned from the show as a result of this 1979 performance. Berle had a reputation for being controlling, and was reportedly a terror behind the scenes with the SNL cast and crew.
Here's another one you may not care for. I have a lot of these, Jen. It's a good audience. I'm really thrilled, really.
During his hosting stint, he mugged for the camera and tried to upstage the rest of the cast. He also had a closing monologue where he rambled on about his career and performed a self-indulgent rendition of the American Standard's September song.
Oh, the days dwindle down to a precious few. September, November.
Friends of Berle planted in the SNL audience gave him a standing ovation, a move that was unplanned and unapproved by showrunner Lorne Michaels. Number 18, Kristen Stewart. Sometimes all it takes is a brief slip to make a monologue controversial. That's what happened with Kristen Stewart back in 2017 when she hosted Saturday Night Live.
I'm a little nervous to be hosting because I know that the president's probably watching, and I don't think he likes me that much.
The actual open was relatively innocuous and funny, with some commentary on then-President Trump's weird Twitter habits. However, it fell off the rails near the end when Stewart accidentally dropped an F-bomb on live TV. The actress laughed it off, but the flub still made headlines the next day.
We've got a great show, and I totally care that I'm here because it's the coolest ever. Oh my God, and I'm sorry, and unless your car is also here, and I'll never come back.
Calling pop culture superfans everywhere. Do you love to argue with WatchMojo's top 10 ranks? Introducing WatchMojo's first and very own party game. Bring your superpowers to the table and fight for your pick to be at the top of the list. It's all the fun of the comment section, but in real life. Number 17, Tom Green. Saturday Night Live has always tried to keep its finger on the pulse of what's funny, trendy, and current. Well, what was considered trendy back in 2000 was Tom Green, whose absurdist style of shock comedy endeared him to a small but very vocal audience.
We're having a good time!
In an episode-long prank, he pretended he was going to marry then-fiancé Drew Barrymore on stage. But in his closing monologue, she left him at the altar, leaving him screaming about his heartbreak.
Drew! Don't go, guys! Love you! I thought you loved me! Where are you?
If that sounds like a punchline to you, hey, Tom Green is your guy. The couple would later marry and divorce in real life. In Green's words, though, this comedic choice, quote, ruined his Saturday Night Live experience. Number 16, Frank Zappa. Fans of Saturday Night Live have grown to expect the unexpected, but they also expect a show that's going to make them laugh.
Thank you, and remember I'm reading this off these cards underneath this camera here. Thank you. It's an awesome responsibility being selected out of millions of people to become the banner of NBC's new look.
Never a fan of convention, musician Frank Zappa poked fun at his SNL hosting gig, breaking the fourth wall during his monologue and referencing the show's production. The musician even said that he was, quote, reading off cue cards and that he, quote, hoped he was good. It didn't appear funny to anyone but Zappa. Needless to say, showrunner Lorne Michaels was not happy. But hey, at least Frank got to sing his anti-disco song, right?
I'm a dancing fool. I'm a dancing fool. I'm a dancing fool.
Number 15, Louise Lasser. Younger viewers may not recognize the name Louise Lasser, but her satirical sitcom Mary Hartman was a smart parody of soap operas during an age when meta-commentary wasn't the norm.
The whole family?
All 5 of them, plus 2 goats and 8 chickens.
I can't believe that. What kind of a madman would shoot 2 goats and 8 chickens? And the people?
The show was exhausting for Lasser, however, and she had also just been in the headlines after being arrested for $6 worth of cocaine. SNL star Chevy Chase remembers the comedian as being, quote, spacey during dress rehearsal. Her opening monologue was a rambling and panicked mess. Lasser claimed it was a creative decision, but whatever the case, it was not well received.
It's a relief to be here, because right now in my show I'm having a nervous breakdown. If some of you watched it, I've just been committed to an institution. So tonight I'm here committed to you.
Number 14, George Steinbrenner. The SNL writing room has always featured incredible talent, but businessman George Steinbrenner seemed to think he was a lot funnier on his own when he hosted in 1990.
I'm really excited tonight. I want you all to be the first to know at 11:15 tonight, I bought the Cincinnati Reds.
He clearly thought he knew what he was doing, as he dove headfirst into a monologue about all the things that he wasn't, before describing himself as a beloved American from another walk of life.
The way I see it, if I'm not an entertainer, I must fall into that other category. Beloved Americans from another walk of life.
The whole experience wasn't remembered fondly by SNL writers like Conan O'Brien, who recalled being berated by Steinbrenner after pitching a different original monologue idea, one that was soundly rejected by the Yankees owner.
Mr. Steinbrenner, yeah, so this is idea for the monologue where you come out and you lost the keys to the car and you think maybe, and he said, I told you I don't want to do that idea. I already said I don't want to do that idea.
Number 13, Andrew Dice Clay. The Dice Man was a hit in the 80s, climbing to fame with a provocative style of humor focused on sexist, racist, and homophobic jokes, some of which seemed to celebrate violence against his targets.
Why? That's about all I could say tonight, you know what I'm saying?
Unsurprisingly, his SNL hosting gig in 1990 was controversial, for all the same reasons. There were protests and boycotts, including from SNL cast member Nora Dunn. Probably could have weathered the critical storm had he done something besides his usual shtick.
Unbelievable, I try to be a good guy. I know you do, how can't you?
Instead, Dice's monologue was ripped right from his sexist and boorish stage act, referencing his privates, his MTV ban, and the SNL controversy itself. Number 12, Kumail Nanjani. This 2007 monologue wasn't controversial except perhaps in extreme circles, but it did touch on controversial issues, so we're including it.
I remember since I was a little kid in Pakistan, Saturday nights my whole family would get together and watch Star Trek. We didn't get Saturday night.
In a brilliant 7 minutes, Kumail Nanjani lampooned racism and the ignorance and strange logic often involved. The Pakistani-American comedian called out racist remarks telling him to, quote, go back to India, and targeted Islamophobia in the U.S. in particular.
Islamophobia is kind of like Will and Grace, where it was huge a while ago, and then we thought it was gone and done, and now it's back and bigger than ever. Thursdays on NBC.
His monologue was packed with biting and relevant commentary, and managed to be hilarious to boot. Number 11, Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison was no stranger to controversy during his 1980s heyday, with his jokes accused of being sexist and homophobic.
Man, do you believe this, huh? I'm back on Saturday Night Live.
His opening SNL monologue from 1986 featured jokes about the United States attack on Libya and the Chernobyl disaster.
I think I speak for all Americans when I say, ah!
Frosties!
But the jokes that were cut were actually about the crucifixion of Jesus and the legalization of marijuana. Not really topics that were ripe for discussion in the 1980s. Networks decided to censor the monologue, awkwardly editing it for TV. Number 10. Donald Trump. Donald Trump was just a presidential candidate when he hosted Saturday Night Live back in 2015, but there was still a lot of criticism in advance of his hosting gig.
It's wonderful to be here. I will tell you, this is going to be something special. Many of the greats have hosted, as you know, this show, like me, in 2004.
Giving him a platform to showcase his comedic chops certainly didn't do him any favors, though. Much of the monologue is spent with Trump telling the audience how great he is, while some other SNL cast members drop their impressions on him.
I gotta say you're doing a great job. In fact, I think the show just got better by about 2 billion%.
Taran Killam even calls it, quote, the best monologue in SNL history. Meanwhile, Larry David's call out from the audience references the allegations of racism that had dogged the candidate.
It's Larry David. What are you doing, Larry?
I heard if I yelled that, they'd give me $5,000.
Number 9. Aziz Ansari. Aziz Ansari was the first performer of South Asian descent to land a hosting gig on Saturday Night Live. His monologue was even more historic thanks to the controversy around it. The day before, Donald Trump had been inaugurated as president.
The day after Trump's inauguration. Pretty cool to know, though. He's probably at home right now watching a brown guy make fun of him, though, right?
Ansari took aim at racists who had been emboldened by this turn of events. Unafraid to ruffle feathers, he eviscerated common forms of racism, but also offered some thoughtful commentary.
Is that the plan, by the way? We're all gonna move, all the minorities, 40-something% of the country, every minority's gonna move, Beyonce's gonna move. Beyonce ain't moving, I ain't moving.
Ansari didn't back down a bit, and it made his monologue both controversial and very, very funny. Number 8. Norm Macdonald. It seems absurd to think that Norm Macdonald was fired from Saturday Night Live for supposedly not being funny enough, but stranger things have happened.
The people here asked me to do the show, I gotta say, I felt kind of weird, I don't know if you remember this, but I used to actually be on this show.
This is why the moment when Macdonald returned to host, less than 2 years after his dismissal, felt like such sweet revenge. Norm proved during his monologue that he wasn't just scathingly funny, but also a sore loser. Macdonald openly called out SNL for being, quote, bad, and didn't shy away from referencing his dismissal from the show with a sardonic wit.
I haven't gotten funnier. The show has gotten really bad. So yeah, I'm funny compared to, well, you'll see later.
True poetic justice. Number 7. Larry David. The co-creator of Seinfeld has never been one to tone down his style of observational comedy. Larry David started off strong during his monologue with observations about New York and dating.
I didn't date much at that time, and I was very desperate. Yet, I was also very particular. It's an odd combination.
It started to veer into questionable territory, however, when he claimed that many sexual predators in the news happened to be Jewish, which, being Jewish, he didn't like.
When people see me, I want them to say, oh, there goes a fine Jew for you. There's a fine Jew. Margaret, come here. Come here, I want you to meet this wonderful Jew. Nothing stereotypical about him.
Going all in, he followed this up with his thoughts on checking out girls in concentration camps. It was certainly dark humor, and many viewers found it insensitive. Number 6. Adrian Brody. The 2003 hosting gig from The Pianist star may be most infamous for the incident when Brody put on a fake wig and Jamaican accent to introduce musical guest Sean Paul. However, let's not forget that the actor's opening monologue was also something to behold. At the Oscars that year, he had kissed Halle Berry as she presented the award for Best Actor, shocking the actress. His monologue saw him kiss women in the audience, then deliver an awkward and unfunny Mother's Day gag between himself and his real-life mom.
Guys, please. I only get one chance here. Don't you people have mothers? You know what, Mom? I love you. Happy Mother's Day.
He was reportedly difficult to work with behind the scenes, and that awkwardness was on full display during the show. Number 5. Bill Burr. The opening monologue for Saturday Night Live often takes on familiar templates. A song and dance number is common because it gives the host and the cast time to shine. Other times, a comedian will just be allowed to do a bit in order to warm up the crowd.
I'm so excited to be here. I have been doing stand-up forever, and this has always been a lifelong dream of mine to come here and host Saturday Night Live.
Bill Burr's abrasive style isn't for everyone, and he definitely didn't hold back on the SNL stage. Burr's jokes about white women and Pride Month appeared tone-deaf and insensitive to some viewers.
That's what I learned. The month of June is Gay Pride Month. That's a little long, don't you think?
It's the risk a comedian takes when they bring a divisive style to a wider home audience. Number 4, Chris Rock. Chris Rock has always been a fearless comedian, and that was reflected in the subjects he chose to joke about in his opening monologue in 2014.
It's great to be back, great to be in New York, great to be at Saturday Night Live.
His criticisms of the commercialization of Christmas weren't controversial, and they provoked quite a few laughs.
Now, I don't know Jesus. But from what I've read, Jesus is the least materialistic person to ever roam the earth. No bling on Jesus!
However, his other jokes touched on not only the then recent Boston Marathon attacks, but also 9/11. It was a risky move, and it upset some viewers, who voiced their displeasure on social media. Number 3, Dave Chappelle. Chappelle has hosted Saturday Night Live 3 times, each time injecting his own brand of raw humor into his opening monologue. In 2016, he targeted the newly elected Donald Trump for his boasts about sexually assaulting women, but also suggested that Americans give Trump a chance.
In that spirit, I'm wishing Donald Trump luck, and I'm going to give him a chance, and we, the historically disenfranchised, demand that he give us one too.
His 2020 monologue lacked teeth, but he returned to his usual provocative style in 2022. The controversy began beforehand, however, as many protested his selection as host given his previous jokes about transgender people. During his monologue, he addressed Kanye West's anti-Semitic comments, but his statements stirred considerable debate over whether they encouraged anti-Semitic tropes.
Kanye's gotten into some scrapes before. Normally when he's in trouble, I pull up immediately. But this time I was like, you know what? Let me see what's going to happen first.
Number 2, Louis C.K. Louis C.K.'s sullied reputation may retroactively affect perception of this third SNL hosting gig back in 2015. But let's be honest, this monologue was always going to be controversial. His opening bit included a frank confession of, quote, mild racism from growing up in the 1970s.
I grew up in the 70s, so I'm not racist. However, I do have mild racism.
But it was his discussion of predators who target young victims that most pushed the boundaries. He presented the issue from the point of view of the predator and made a comparison to Mounds bars that many people saw as tasteless.
If somebody said to me, if you eat another Mounds bar, you'll go to jail and everybody will hate you, I would stop eating them.
Number 1, Martin Lawrence. Come on, you all knew this was coming. Martin Lawrence has never been back since this time he hosted Saturday Night Live, and he probably never will.
Yeah, this is a dream come true for me. I mean, hosting Saturday Night Live, I watched everybody, all of them on here, and I was like, when I'm gonna get my chance? When I'm gonna get my chance? But damn it, now it's my chance. Ain't no stopping me now, I tell you.
Reruns of this SNL episode have part of the monologue edited out. It's replaced with a text crawl describing how Lawrence complained about the state of feminine hygiene and proposed some creative solutions.
Martin begins a commentary on what he considers the decline in standards of feminine hygiene in this country.
The text also notes that the monologue almost cost a lot of people their jobs. Lawrence was permanently banned after the episode, although his work is obviously still remembered.
Well, look here, y'all. We got a great show for you tonight, because I'm here.
Just don't expect to see him on Lorne Michaels' show ever again. Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.